Hey everyone, happy Monday, January 12th, Off the Rail Sports with Bert Beiswanger. Yes, it's already January 12th. The calendar is moving quickly, although I still have it on December because I just put up my brand new Santa Anita Park calendar, and I love that photo, so I want to enjoy it for a week, and then I'll flip it to January. I've got the calendar for the photos and the race dates that are marked on it. I don't need the calendar to keep track of time, although it does feel like time is moving really quickly. And we are a week away from the college football national championship game. Speaking of moving quickly, 1 week away from that, Indiana Hoosiers taking on the Miami Hurricanes. Miami, de facto home game. We'll see. I think it'll probably be about 50-50 crowd. We're not going to see what we saw in Atlanta, where it was, what, 85% Indiana? I mean, they had a 8-hour drive down the same time zone. The Hoosiers fans, Oregon fans were never going to travel. Not sure why they had to come all the way to Atlanta and play instead of playing in the Fiesta Bowl in Arizona, but whatever. That's the matchups. That's the way they did it. And so IU moves on, just clobbered Oregon. And I didn't. It's like the Alabama game. I didn't expect that. The Alabama game, I expected IU to roll because I told everybody Bama was a fraud. They shouldn't be in it for the 100th time. They stuck. They look like a team that already made their postseason plans. They look like a pro team who it's like, God, I can't believe we're in the playoffs. We got to play this one more game. I already made my plans to fly to Bahamas next weekend. So that's what Bama looked like. They look completely disinterested. Oregon just flat out. I That's another team again, and this is why I pound the pavement. Sorry to get back a little bit. This is why non-conference scheduling is important to me. I get sick and tired of arguing the strengths of conferences and schedules and blah blah blah, because the reality is the only way to determine the weight of your conference as far as the quality of it is how you perform outside of conference. Otherwise, we don't know. So Oregon didn't beat anybody non-conference. So, and quite frankly, they didn't play a very difficult Big Ten schedule. Who really does? It's very top-heavy, right? IU played the toughest Big Ten schedule this year. They played the easiest last year, so it changes. But yeah, IU's taking care of business handily against all these teams, including at Oregon. And that was Oregon's one chance to have a big win, and they got manhandled that game. I know IU won by 10, so I think saying manhandled is a little strong, but I just don't understand the constant elevation of certain teams. Like Oregon, they decided from the beginning of the season that they were a top five team, and that's it. You know, and I don't understand when you watch like how good Ole Miss was all around. Um, A&M most of the season they got beat up near the end of the season and lost to Miami obviously at home by a touchdown. That's nothing to apologize there for. Okay, but like why Oregon was seeded fifth and not seventh ahead of or behind Ole Miss and A&M is beyond me. There's no metrics other than just say you think well the Big Ten teams are better. Well, when they're seated properly, when they're seated better, it's going to play out that way on paper. Um, but Oregon, I just didn't. I never bought into Oregon, and so um, I was very confident and that IU would roll Oregon, and they did. Um, I don't know what that line was, 4.5. I thought that was an absolute layup and a gift. Maybe it was 3.5. So I felt really good about it. I know a lot of my IU friends. Obviously, you react differently, you feel differently when it's your team and everything is riding on it. And so I heard a lot of, I'm really worried about this game. I'm like, why? I am not worried about this game at all. It's going to be one of the easier paths I think anyone will ever have in the college football championship because you're not going to have two mid majors anymore. Uh, and then you won't have to make the mistake with Alabama and seeding them higher than they should have been, even in the playoffs at all. They would be in next year anyway, and there would be no pressure to get them above Notre Dame and all that kind of stuff. But it couldn't have worked out any better for Indiana. Bama was never going to win that game. And I didn't think Oregon was ever going to win that game either. I thought it would be a home field kind of feel for IU. It was, and that frankly they are the better team. They are the best all around team. Um, and It's really hard to argue that. Now, Miami's been very impressive. Uh, Miami and Notre Dame were kind of right there on the same line for me. So I kind of thought, well, gee, if they can both get in, I think they'll both be kind of fourth, fifth, sixth favorites to win the national title. Although Miami never gets the respect that Notre Dame does. Having said that, two things. One, the early line has Indiana favored by 7.5. That seems a little odd to me. That feels like a continued overvaluing of Oregon, a team that when it comes time to get tough, they get pushed around over and over. So IU boat raced them, and I think there's a little bit of that a lingering effect because I don't know how anyone watches Miami and watches Oregon and says that Oregon is better than Miami, especially the Hurricanes playing a de facto game at home at Hard Rock Stadium. That doesn't make any sense to me. Now, I will say this. Miami had some significant injuries on the defensive side of that ball. So, you want to talk about a team that's not afraid to punch in the face. That is a tough team. They took nothing from Oregon, or I'm sorry, from Ohio State, and played a heck of a game against Ole Miss. What a great game! I wanted Ole Miss to win. I thought Ole Miss was a great story, and I thought it'd be absolutely cool for them to play for the national title. And if IU can't win it, then the team that wins it's Ole Miss, the Lane Kiffin less Ole Miss. That would have been awesome. But Ole Miss couldn't put it off. Couldn't pull it off because the refs decided, in part because the refs decided not to call a blatant pass interference at the end of the game. But hey, uh, but Miami had casualties that game on the defensive line, at linebacker, at the cornerback position. So we'll see. These look like injuries that aren't just going to go away and heal up in 7 days. I don't know how Miami's defense is going to look. They're going to have a hard enough time as it is against Indiana. But if these injuries don't, if they linger and turns out these guys can't come back for this game, it's going to be a big difference. It's going to be a big difference on the defensive line and everything. And I just don't see how I just don't see IU losing this game. 7.5 seems like a lot right now. If the injuries are real, though, I'm kind of, that's probably maybe right. Maybe it is. I don't know. So we'll see. We got a little time to go with that. But you know what? The great thing about your team having these magical seasons, and my teams haven't had a lot, but like even the Pacers last year, as bad as it was that they lost that game 7, I wanted that icing on the cake for that franchise and for everyone. And I think they would have won the game. The way they lost that game, well, it's still gut-wrenching. As gut-wrenching as it can get for a fan. The Pacers were going to win that game 7. And they were going to beat OKC. And they were going to go down as one of the best playoff runs in the history of the NBA playoffs. Having said all of that, we still got to enjoy the whole journey. And that's what's about. And so for IU, I can't speak for the diehards, but the winning the championship would be the icing on the cake. It's a thing that you can fly that flag for as long as you want. And it's a championship that never ever ever would have happened in a million years. We didn't think. So we'll see if we can reverse course a little bit. Pacers came so close to a championship, couldn't get it done. Can IU do that? Can they finish this magical run? I think they can, in part because they're the favorite and they're the better team. I really believe that. And they're definitely the better team if Miami's got their injury issues. I'm not a big Carson Beck fan. He's in what, 6th year, 7th year? Yeah, I feel like when Beck plays well, it gets way over celebrated because when he's bad, he can be really bad. I don't see Mendoza ever being bad. I just see them playing like clockwork, balanced attack, running the ball. Miami runs the ball with Fletcher as well. So I mean they've got a balanced attack, but I just feel like I mean IU's got every piece of the package, and they win the trenches until otherwise proven otherwise. And I don't see them getting beat up this game. I don't know that they will beat Miami up. I'm not saying that, but I think they keep things rolling. All right, we'll talk more about that. NFL playoffs, not having the Colts in it, that stinks. It's fun to watch some of these games without the emotional investment in it. Like the Bills game and Jaguars game was a blast to watch. The Bears game, the Packers game. I mean, a lot of these games, all of these games. Really, last night was the first game that was kind of a eh. I thought that would be a really good game, and Chargers just couldn't get anything going. Uh, but the 49ers and the Eagles game, uh, I really enjoyed watching these playoffs. I gotta be honest, I wasn't I wasn't totally hyped for them, and I continue to. I'm having a hard time with the NFL right now. There's just so many injuries. It's just player after player after player going down, and you get to the end of the season, and basically it's like who's left. Um, 49ers lost George Kittle last night. What a that team. They've lost. They lost Warner. They're all pro left tackle. Kittle has been hurt. Ricky Pearsall's been hurt. Brendan Ayuk has been hurt. And they just keep finding a way. What a well coached team. You want to talk about the difference between your average coaches out there, and we know some of them here in Indianapolis, I think. Um, but guys who aren't the whisperers that we think they are, and then you've got Shanahan in San Francisco, and how many quarterbacks he's won with, and you know, Brock Purdy goes down, and he wins 3 games with Mac Jones, and then Purdy comes back, and they go 7-1. I mean, just they are so good and so fun to watch just because of the collective. And then you got Philadelphia, who's coming off a Super Bowl, and it feels like it's the weirdest feeling. Philly has got all these stars. You got AJ Brown constantly arguing with people. The coach Sirianni running down the sidelines to yell at AJ Brown. People saying, Sirianni on the hot seat. They just won the Super Bowl last year. And so this is a bizarre feeling. I don't understand what's going on in Philadelphia, but I honestly don't care. I've enjoyed watching these playoffs. We got one more game to go tonight, and then we'll be set for next week. Um, but the games have been good. Uh, the officiating in the NFL in recent years has been absolutely atrocious. But I've kind of moved my anger toward officials onto head coaches. These guys are just they almost win in spite of themselves, like the Bears. Going for it on your own 30-yard line in the second quarter. And then you don't get it, and guess what happens? Green Bay scores a touchdown. I, these guys are way too smart for themselves. They really are. They're smarter than the room. We see what some of Steichen's play calling as well. These guys are smarter than the room, and sometimes they win in spite of themselves. And the Bears do that. Bears get down 2 touchdowns all the time, and they just, man, they are the cardiac kids. They are fun to watch in the fourth quarter because you don't know what's going to happen. And they just start slinging it, and somehow the Packers blew 2 double-digit fourth quarter leads against the Bears in the last 2 weeks. But anyway, all right, we'll keep watching the playoffs. We'll look forward to the national championship game this next Monday, a week from now. And we're moving on. Watching college basketball. Good game. IU, Nebraska on Saturday. Not good for IU. They blew a 16-point lead. Nebraska, another good story in college sports. 16-0, I think. Ranked 10th in the country. Huge for the Nebraska Cornhuskers. All right. Hey, everybody, get a leg up on the week. Have a good week. We'll talk soon.